Hi everyone, and welcome to today's RedRisks live event in conversation. Today, on this lovely Thursday afternoon, we will be talking to Louise Hoskings, the president-elect of IOSH, who has very graciously given us some time out of her busy schedule to talk with us today. Louise has been in the health and safety arena for the last 29 years, starting off as an environmental health officer in Cambridge before moving into the cooperative group and working everywhere from shops to funeral parlours. Started her own business and has been vice president of IOSH for 3 years, is president-elect this year, and will be moving on to being president of IOSH next year. So we're going to have a fun-filled session today. Just before we start, this is a live session, so there may be gremlins in the works, but there are also the live chats, which you can join in with us, ask any questions you have of myself or any of the guests. Salim, thank you very much for your look, and we will be starting shortly. So if you have any questions, if you have any input, please do join in with us. You can also email live at redrisks.com or join into the WhatsApp group with the numbers at the top as well. So we should have some members of the stream team joining us as well. Oh, we've got Louise joining us. Hi, Louise. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this afternoon.
No, it'd be brilliant. We've got Charlie in Riyadh who's joining us, and Tanner from the United Arab Emirates. Oh, and Janet has just joined from Poland as well.
Hi.
We've got a lot of people from all over the place. So thank you for your time, Louise. Really great to see you here. So, right, to start, we will be taking some. Oh, I can hear myself. Could we mute, please? I can hear myself, and it's really weird. We will be taking some comments from the chat box, but before we do that, so just a brief introduction to yourself, Louise. I've given one, but if you would give it in your own words, that would be really good for everybody watching.
Yeah, no, hi. It's really great to be here. Yeah, I've had a bit of a long and illustrious career in health and safety. I'm quite unusual because I'm a first careerer. So, yeah, I studied environmental health at Nottingham Trent, which I loved. And I really enjoyed working as an environmental health officer, and it gives you such a breadth of knowledge across all different disciplines. I went to court quite a few times. So, and sometimes if I had long enough, all my best stories are from those days. And I went to work for the co-op after I prosecuted them because I think they thought it was probably cheaper to have me off the streets. And working for the co-op was absolutely fantastic. I moved down to the West Country, and I had a region that was South Wales and South West. And exactly as you've said in your introduction, sort of covering everything: food stores, funeral parlours, non-food stores. And I was just in my early 20s, and it was when we had major legislative changes in health and safety. So we had what's called the Six Pack came out in the UK, which everyone will remember. And we were thrust into doing risk assessments, which we hadn't really done before. And I remember one of my projects was, right, off you go, sort out manual handling in the non-food division. So I always say to anybody coming into health and safety as a career, it's not about your age, it's about your passion and about asking questions and just, just figuring it out and getting stuck in. So I absolutely loved that job. I got very involved in the store redevelopments, which led to a bit of I spent a bit of time working in the construction sector. I've always done a lot of work. I enjoy looking at design, how can we eliminate risk by design? From there, I became head of environmental health and safety at Savills, which lots of people know them because they've got a high street presence with their estate agents, but they're a global property company. So I became quite involved with property, and I'm still very much a kind of built environment professional. And yeah, so I left the corporate world because I really wanted to help lots of businesses. And I set up my own business about 15 years ago now. So I'm a consultant and do, variety of work, massive variety of work actually with I've got a brilliant team here. And yeah, I've also had an IOSH journey. So I was chair of Chiltern Branch, became vice president for 3 years, and this year I was elected as president-elect by council, and then our members. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell, I guess.
No, brilliant. Thank you. I kind of flustered my way through the beginning
Yeah,
sentence. You did it far more eloquently than I did.
yeah. I mean, I've got next year will be 30 years. So,
Wow.
I've been in health and safety for a long time.
That's a good year to have as your year as president of
Yeah,
IOSH. The
absolutely.
30th year in health and safety.
Yeah,
That's
I'll be able to say
quite
it's
the
30 years.
milestone. That's
Yeah.
impressive. I know you are very keen on positive occupational safety and health as well, and you've been behind the hashtag posh.
Yeah. So yeah, and actually there's an extension to that, Gemma. I don't know if you
Oh,
picked up on it.
have
So
you got a new
so
one?
the POSH is positive occupational safety and health. But I have a posh idea as well, which is inclusive, diversive, equal, but most importantly, action.
Excellent. That is a good one.
So, one of the things that what's important is it's great to talk about this stuff, but how do we make things happen? So, yeah, and I'm very much an advocate for, and it's how we change how
Oh, that's
our
really gone.
profession is reflected on and seen by the outside world. And I think we need to talk ourselves up a bit more. We do a great job, we save lives every single day, and I genuinely believe that people can learn from what good looks like, if you like. We need to learn from the mistakes and the things that we get wrong, but people need to be shown, this is what good looks like, and be able to find out for themselves what good looks like as well. So then it has this kind of positive connotation rather than something, we're not going around picking faults all the time.
No. Yeah, picking faults, you only then get seen as a negative
Absolutely. Yeah. I
uh,
mean, I think,
profession.
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if it's very difficult to understand what you're meant to do if all you know is what you've got wrong.
Yes.
So if you imagine you go into a situation, any situation, it could be a personal situation, and all you hear is, this isn't right, that's not right, this is awful. We're not going to learn about, well, actually, what are the bits that I've got right?
Mm.
So I think it's about having a balance in those two things. You can't, for me, it's, we do need to do more of we need to big ourselves up a little bit more.
It's definitely one, particularly, I think English people struggle with bigging themselves up.
Yeah.
We are generally held to be modest and not extol our achievements, but I think we definitely do need to do a lot more of it. I know I've stolen loads of great ideas for health and safety from other people. I will steal with pride, and I don't even hide the fact that I'm stealing either. I just say, "Oh, do you mind if I steal this? I'm taking it now."
Yeah.
So good ideas, good information, good practice from everyone is brilliant. I mean, our team, we are trying to be as inclusive and as diverse as we can. We've got quite a range here. We've got say Charlie in Riyadh, we've got Tanner in the United Arab Emirates, we've got Janet in Poland. We've got a range of skills. We've got a range of different arenas, and then me. So that is entirely something on our stream team we are very much behind. Uh, I was looking at some of them. I've got notes for myself, sorry. So if I keep looking down, it's because I've
That's
forgotten what
fine,
I'm talking
Gemma.
about. We were talking with Jimmy Quinn on Tuesday, current president of IOSH, and he was talking about your joined up thinking, which is a brilliant to hear that it's not going to be 1 year's term, he's doing his one thing and then that's it, it ends and then doesn't carry on. So what is it that you'll be excited to be carrying on with Jimmy, that you get into addition, what are you going to carry on to your term? How are
Yeah,
you feeling about that?
so no, I mean, we're both really delighted to be where we are, and we've worked really hard. It means a lot to us to represent this amazing membership that we have and to be out there talking to people about it. And I've just seen Graham, hi Graham, talking about our positive approach. And I think, Jimmy and I had a lot of discussions around this. We feel that our members and what we do is about people, and people need to be first and center. And we're very much aligned. What do our members need? Because if we can equip our members, they can go out and save lives. So we're very, very much aligned in respect of that. And what we really wanted to look at was, how do we, have this kind of journey, if you like, from president to president that kind of merges into each piece. And the role of the president-elect has always been, to obviously prepare for becoming president. And to learn about what that means and all of those pieces. Although, being vice president, I've kind of had that practice as well. And there's certain elements that Jimmy's looking at the moment, particularly around bringing in veterans as a second career, mental health and wellness, and our future leaders. So in terms of that, going forward, my themes are going to kind of evolve from those pieces. So, I mean, obviously, future leaders, I can talk to our future leaders and talk about what it's like to do this job in your 20s. So, certainly with them, that's probably a piece that I'm going to continue on. He's looking very much at mental health and well-being, which is a really important topic for us as a membership at the moment. And I want to look at how we make our membership more representative of the working world of work, so looking at inclusion. But then I'm going to probably bring on pieces that I'm familiar with. So I've worked a lot in the property world. Built environment, understanding, you've got to understand a bit of business to be able to influence in the right way. And I'm really interested in how we do that piece. And one of the core pillars within IOSH is around human capital. So how do we get business to sort of think about what we do at that kind of higher level? So you can see that we're kind of already kind of merging these pieces through and working very much together, so that there is this kind of seamless transition. And people like Graham on the call, we're still all in contact with each other. So listening a lot and being out there a lot and just, hearing what everybody's got to say.
No, it's brilliant. So we met earlier this year at the Future Leaders conference before we all got locked down.
Wasn't it amazing?
It was good. And that ties quite nicely into Akil's question we've got here, is what is your advice to youngsters who come into safety?
Oh, wow. I mean, my advice is I was thinking about this earlier. It is quite hard to get those kind of junior health and safety roles, the kind of the start off roles. And I think if you are working in an organisation already and, there's an opportunity to get involved with different health and safety projects that might be going on, or you see an opportunity, that's my action bit. So, if you see an opportunity, grab that opportunity that you see. And I would say really concentrate, and we were talking about this, on, you know, your soft skills, on your power skills, as I call them, because I don't think they're very soft at all. You know, how can you make a positive contribution to the business that you're working within? So learn about everything that's going on around you, learn about the business. Don't feel that you have to know everything, you know. I'm thinking back to my 20s, I certainly didn't know very much at all, and I was sent out to do those manual handling assessments. But I asked a lot of questions. How do you do this? Why do you do that? You know, people want to talk about their work. So it's about, you know, going into it and asking a lot of questions, you know, being prepared to do, you know, you might have to do things that perhaps you might not like at the start, but that's part of learning. And, you know, I think for me as well is that there isn't a linear career progression in health and safety. So it's not being afraid to sort of seek that next challenge to really broaden your experience.
Yes, that's, yeah, really good. One of the things I've said to people is nobody will come along and offer you the job. They
No,
will, once you've been doing it for a while, say, "Oh, you've been doing this. Would you like would you like to actually
yeah,
take it on officially?"
yeah, yeah. I mean, I
So,
think every business wants somebody that's going to be helpful. I mean, I run a business now, so I've kind of got two hats that,
yeah,
you know, I've got three hats. I'm a president elect, I run a business, and I'm also a consultant. So, you know, the most powerful thing you can say to somebody in a business situation is, I've got this, I can take care of it.
yeah,
You know, that's massively powerful. So it's, you know, creating opportunities, you know, identifying those opportunities, and being helpful, and, you know, just doing, you know, work hard is what I say. I've worked incredibly hard, and I've taken opportunities as they come along. Something that Jimmy said of me, I know, last week, is that start from a position of yes.
yes,
So,
yeah,
you know, again, it can be a bit of a habit, can't it? Oh, no, you can't do that. I very, very rarely say no to people. I think I remember saying no when somebody was talking about having a show with some flamethrowers where they had some bales in of hay for seats. I might have said no to that. Um,
yeah. I can see why you would.
yeah, but, you know, there's always a way to do things safely, and that's the creative part of what we do. That's what makes what we do interesting. So
Yeah,
start from that position of yes.
no, that's brilliant. I like that one. Is yeah, start of how yes we can do it. Now
Yeah,
looking at how,
let's work out how we do it
yeah,
safely
yeah.
together.
No, that's a brilliant one, and I very much agree with the idea of asking questions and not assuming that you have to have all the answers, or that you do in fact have all the answers and can go out and give them, especially at the beginning of your career.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
one of the things that I love is I love working in teams. I love working in mishmash teams of, you know, people, and let's face it, those teams of people now are global as
mhm,
well, which is
well,
amazing. And just, you know, when you bring teams together and you've got that trust in each other, so it's building that trust, and you know, you come together, you know, what can be achieved is enormous. You know, health and safety can be a massive enabler for business.
mm,
You know, it can make, I guess that's why I like it. You know, I can always see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I see the businesses that I operate with change and be
yeah,
smarter and happier, and they become better businesses. So, you know, I think we need to focus on that.
no, that's, yeah, ties in nicely with the positive.
Yeah.
Self, ugh, put my tea back in. Positive health and safety. Sorry. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to ask for Louise? Charlie, do you have anything?
Couple of things that's really sort of been burying away in my head over the last couple of days, and particularly with James's interview and things like that the other day. I've been reading a document. Now, this document was printed. It was written in 2016, and it was written by it was put together by the Chartered Accountants of Australia and New Zealand in one of the local universities in Australia, and it was written in 2006. It's called Relevance and Professional Associations in 2026, and it was written in 2016 with asking the Chartered Accountants where do they think their professional organisation would be in 10 years' time, and there's a variety of it mirrors across because we've got a variety of professional organisations. We've got the Chartered Institute of Professional Development, we've got the British Medical Association. Within the document, there's a variety of articles, and there's one called The Future of Professions. And now this was written in 2016 and there's a statement in it from Deborah Eckersley, who was a managing partner of human capital with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I don't know if she still does that job. And she says that because important problems are complex, the solutions don't tend to come from one profession. We need a suite of people from a range of professions. This is where professional associations are very relevant, but they can't be insular to others. So we absolutely want engineers, scientists, technologists, accountants, lawyers, etc., etc., etc. Now, what primarily my question to you, Louise, is at the moment I think IOSH is looking at the global picture as globalization, but we're still very, as from my perspective, my opinion, I think we're still very insular with regards to HSE. Now, going forward in the new year, we've got this new competency matrix, which covers a variety of 60, 66. I can't remember the total number. So my question to you, there you go. Yeah, I brought a copy myself. Now, my question to you is that do you believe when it's your turn to take the helm as president, that we should be reaching out and working alongside people like the Chartered Institute of Personal Development, the Law Society, for instance, the British Medical Association? We should be creating more links to these organisations rather than keeping ourselves within this HSE bubble, if you will. So that was my first question to you. Do you share that?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I am a collabor.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and if you think about, our strategic collaboration is one of those.
Yeah.
So IOSH has got some amazing partnerships with, people like the ILO, with ISA, we've done a load of webinars this year with the World Health Organization. And I think one of the things that has come out of this whole pandemic is that we're definitely talking to each other more across those frameworks. You mentioned the CIPD, and I did smile because I've been stuck on this chair all day, but I've been going from one thing to the other. And at lunchtime today, I actually hosted a webinar jointly between IOSH and the CIPD, so the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. So 110%, we are in a completely different world now, and we need to be working together on this. I strongly believe for us as health and safety professionals, a lot of our work is going to be around facilitating this, which is why those power skills are so massively important. So we can put ourselves at the center where we're actually pulling all of these different people together. And I said to you earlier, I love creating these teams because these teams can just, if you get the right teams together, you motivate them in a positive way, extraordinary things can happen.
Of course,
no one person or no one professional body can solve some of the problems that we're dealing
and absolutely, and I think that's what that Deborah Eckersley was saying. The problems are not solved in silo. The problems are solved from going to other organisations, other individuals, tapping into these knowledge banks, if you will, and it's good to hear that sort of collaboration with these other organisations is in the offing. I think that HR is our closest organisational cousin. I think we mentioned this previously. I think sometimes we're too far apart, And we're on we both want the same thing. We both want happy, healthy people at work. We want a positive organisation. We want people to have a fulfilled life within the organisation. But it's time for CIP, the HR and HSE to really truly become the joint partners within the organisation.
I am smiling because that's what I was doing at lunchtime today.
It's a no-brainer.
What you've got to remember as well is Bev, who's the chief executive of IOSH, her background is in HR, and so she's still very front and centre of the CIPD. I mean, with IOSH has been, very much with the strategy, IOSH has been on a real journey. And I think, we've got these really incredible strategic partners that we're working alongside. And absolutely, because if you think about it, all of us, have got, probably people on the line, we're members of more than probably just IOSH.
I am. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's bringing all of those pieces together, but in bringing them together, we've still got to have that. I talk a lot about journeys, you've got to map out that journey. You've got to know what the steps are in that journey to reach the other end. And what we can't do is have so much overloadedness, if that's a word, that we're actually not getting some change and some action coming out of it.
I mean, it's what you call it, incremental, achievable improvement. Small steps, Ellie, small steps. And then we can, Okay.
Janet, did you have anything you wanted to ask, or if you had anything to say?
Well, I'm very, very, very happy to meet you, Liz. I have my own story with IOSH. When I was younger, much younger, I had a boyfriend, and he asked me what I want for my birthday. I asked him to buy me annual membership because I didn't have.
That's amazing.
He said, what? I said, could you buy me an annual IOSH membership? I don't have enough money to pay for that. And that was my first membership. I had, I think it was associate member. We didn't have membership that time. Yes, here I am in Poland, and I'm so happy because I'm representing, I think, the Central and Eastern Europe. And I've been very lucky to be IOSH member because when I started, and not being from UK, I was looking for a lot of sources of information, forum groups when I was a beginner. But today, I think there is a question that I have. There are more than 49,000 members of IOSH. And 5 years ago, we established the first NIBOSH center in Poland. And I'm very proud of that, not because of NIBOSH itself, just because I guess thanks to that, my first day I usually dedicate to the potential sources of information. One of them is always IOSH. Unfortunately, we don't have such a open, I would say, discussions here when we do organize conferences, I don't know, different meetings. We don't have representatives IOSH coming and visiting us. And it's a group, I think it's a larger group of people looking for support and sharing, like Poland, Bulgaria, Ukraine. We do have a lot of projects now with Ukraine. And I think it would be great if you consider as one of your challenges next year, maybe to extend one of the groups or branches, if you could consider maybe some support with regards to the Eastern and Central Europe. I'm sorry for being.
I love that. It's a great question. So I have been a chair of a branch for a long time, and it's something that I'm very proud of because so I'm chair of Chiltern branch. Everybody's heard of Chiltern branch. I know Gemma's been along to our branch meetings, and I have been a member of IOSH since 1999. And I've always been a member of the Chiltern branch. And I remember going along to the Chiltern branch and not feeling then I didn't feel connected to it. And I went back a few more times, and the last time that I went on one of these kind of like visits, there were 10 retired members in the room in this massive space. And I thought, I need something, but I don't know what it is. And I decided to roll up my sleeves and get stuck in and get involved and create, you know, a different feel to the branch, which I think we have now. So I feel like I've gone on a real journey as a branch chair, and obviously it's led to me, you know, becoming vice president, president-elect, and I'm president next year. So the networks, I think, are massively powerful. You know, we've got them right around the world, and we've got some phenomenal, volunteers in there, and we've also got groups as well, so sector groups, which again, massively important, great work that they do. And so we have these groups and branches all around the country. And the great thing at the moment is that you can, you know, they're all virtual. So that means, Jeanette, that you can zoom in to any of those meetings at any time right now, and you will meet members and you can make connections there like you probably haven't had the opportunities before. But the question that you're asking is about new branches. So you know, it's a really challenging thing for us to do, to say, well, you know, when do you create something new? We've just created a new network in West Africa, which has been, it's really exciting. It's really, you know, launching and becoming massive. But we have to pick where we're going to do this really carefully, because every branch or network needs quite a lot of support. So it's not something, if we're putting IOSH's name to it, we have to run that branch or network in a specific way. You know, it needs support. And so, you know, IOSH is a charity, and we've got to we're always kind of balancing. You've got to think, we're always balancing the kind of what's coming in is what's going out. And so, you know, IOSH will always look at the needs of members. And if people feel that they, you know, if there is that sort of groundswell in a particular area, it will be looked at. But it's not an easy, you know, it has to have, you know, it's something that isn't a quick process. But I guess the short answer to that is, you know, in the meantime, do get involved and, you know, seek out the branches and the groups at the moment and just, you know, become part of it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Appreciate.
We've just got a question from Vince on the bottom. The Institute of Directors, the Chamber of Commerce, the Federation of Small Businesses, the Confederation of British Industry Employer-Based Membership Organisations. How are IOSH planning to change the narrative from a generally negative output towards OSH to a generally positive output from all of those employer organisations?
Well, I'm planning on doing something about that, Vince. So I think, do you know something? IOSH is its members, and I think it starts with, you know, we've got almost 48,000 members. I think it starts with 48,000 people around the world talking differently and change. It's tied in with this, you know, these power skills and thinking about the way that we talk about what we do and the way that we approach our, you know, how we work and what we do, because it's our actions that makes the biggest difference. So certainly, you know, all of those organizations, they are definitely on our radar. You know, this year I did a webinar with the Federation of Small Businesses, which was great, because I feel like I've got kind of a hat in both camps, because I understand what running a small business is like. So I guess that's down to us. And I think, you know, certainly Jimmy and I will always talk very positively about what we're doing as being an enabler. and it's all about those outward messages. So hopefully that answers the question. But Vince, we need you banging that drum as well.
Yes. Tana, sorry, I've left you out a bit. You thought you got on the way with it, didn't you? Do you have anything there?
Tana,
Hello,
hi.
hello, hi. How are you? Pleasure to meet you, and happy to be here with all of you. Actually, plenty of my questions are covered by Charlie and Janet. But one thing that I would like to, bring to your attention, that the expectations from HSE professionals are so high within the organization. I remember that when this COVID started back in, let's say, January, that everybody started asking me that, what is this and what are we going to do? And I was telling them that this is the first pandemic that I'm experiencing, because the last one happened like 100 years ago, right? That is one thing that I wanted to ask you, Louise, that if you are planning to educate the organization somehow. I don't know, how to do this, but maybe you are experienced in this, last 30 years, and I believe that we need to find a way to educate the organizations to, keep their expectations in a, let's say, regular way. Not expecting too much. And one other thing I would like to ask you, that are you thinking to make the membership more accessible to let's say many people? Because I have met few people that they are not able to become a member of IOSH because of funding, because they don't have enough money to just maintain their membership. That's one thing comes to my mind. And the last thing, sorry if I talk too much.
You might have to come back to the first one in a minute.
The last thing, that I'm a member of IOSH and this IIRSM, and I'm going to become a CSP soon, and maintaining all of these membership. Is not easy. Unification movement. Are there anything in the agenda for the next year that like unification movement between these let's say institutions, organizations?
So I'll take the last one first. IOSH is IOSH. It's the remember, IOSH is the biggest health and safety professional body. We've got nearly 48,000 members in 130 countries. We're the only organisation that can, we're the only chartered organisation. So that in terms of other organisations, we're not going to join forces. I think it's unlikely to say that we'd join forces with a similar organisation. Collaboration is key to what we do. So, collaboration is massively important, but I think that we all offer something different. In terms of, does that answer that question? In terms of, you were saying that, the businesses are saying, we've never encountered COVID before, how do we deal with it? That's a really good question. If you remember back to my introduction, I talked to you about, I was 23 and, we were faced with is the first set of manual handling regulations that came in that said you must do risk assessments of this. And I was given that as a project in my early 20s when I had very little health and safety experience. So it's a similar kind of scenario, is that we're all in the same storm. We might be in a different boat, but it's about going back to first principles. And I think out of this pandemic, the piece that I think reflecting on everything that's happened, is we have to be really good at risk management and going back to those basic principles that we learn, the hierarchy of risk control, and guiding those around us to understand that too. And it's a basic fundamental principle of what we do. and not expect a template for everything, you know, is,
Yep.
you know, and business won't necessarily thank you for that, because the business leaders also need to figure it out, because at the end of the day, it's their business. And they need to work it through in their minds to take real ownership of it. So I certainly feel, you know, we need to guide them and support them, and, you know, talk in the same language as they do, so that we can help them to make the right strategic decisions. And I can't remember the first question now.
It's about funding people who are wanting to become members of
Oh yes,
IOSH, not being
membership,
able to
please.
afford.
Yeah. So what I would say is you can contact a membership on membership@iosh.com. So really easy email address to remember. And there are options. So there are options for people who are on low incomes or who've lost their jobs. So I would say, if somebody's in that situation, contact membership@iosh.com, because there are some programs, or there's some things that you can do that might help.
Okay, thank you.
Instance.
Thank
Or
you
we
very
can
much.
get Janet's boyfriend's phone number and ask him.
Yes, I love. Do you know what, Jenna? I've never heard of that. I think it's amazing.
I was 20 years old and I was medical student, so I didn't have
Wow,
anyone.
that's amazing.
And to that, coming back to Tanner's, yes, thank you so much. Yeah, and I agree, there is a hotline. Even I received, when I updated my membership, I received a statement that during COVID, if you have any financial problems, you can contact us. So I was really surprised. Yeah.
That's brilliant. We've got Vince messaging us in again. The ILO report states that 2.3 million workers die annually because of their work, and that the number of worker deaths is rising and at an alarming rate. What reason is this dreadful phenomenon happening, and what is IOSH doing to try to reverse the awful carnage of working people? 2.3 dead every year. So what is IOSH doing to help reduce the number of workers dying in the workplace?
So yeah, I'm going to tie this. Action's going to become my word for this for this discussion, I think. Yeah. So I think I would probably tie this back to, again, you know, it's IOSH is a framework for our members. So IOSH is creating, you know, the support for our members so that our members can make an impact on those statistics. So it's part of why we're working to enhance the professional standing of our membership, so that they are well qualified, they've got loads of power skills, and they can go out into the world and make those differences. So that's the first thing. We have 6 pillars. So, I mean, I know, Gemma, you might be asking me a question about where psychological safety fits in all of these things. But it's still very important to manage the regular health and safety stuff. And I've written about this quite a lot, is that we may be in a COVID crisis, but we've also got to manage those other pieces as well. And part of what we need to do to support businesses is to help them to prioritize those things. And, you know, that will make an impact on those deaths. Remember, we have campaigns like No Time to Lose, which is an amazing campaign aimed at supporting the prevention of exposure to carcinogens in the workplace. And, you know, anybody can register with that and access that information, and again spread that message. So I guess, Vince, the short answer is IOSH is enabling our members to go out and do something about those deaths, and we all need to keep that at the forefront of our minds.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm just adding on from what Vince was talking about and adding it into what Louise was talking about. And I think we have to remain positive but realistic with things. We're not going to change the world, okay? We're not going to be Steve
I'm going
Jobs
to try.
That's my point exactly. We need to remain positive but realistic. We need to move forward in a reasonably purposeful manner. But the globalization of everything that we do now is linked to this globalization aspect. NABOSH is the same as IOSH and things like that. And these things come with benefits, but they also come with costs, both positive and negative. And there is a variety of organisations out there that we know: the World Health Organization, International Labour Organization, United Nations. There are a multitude of organisations out there that are doing fantastic work. And I think we have to be very careful that we don't become some sort of messianic, fix everything for everybody organisation. We parachute in, and all of a sudden everything is going to be the land of milk and honey. It's just not going to happen.
And it's not possible, IOSH has IOSH in it. If you think of what IOSH is, IOSH has a finite amount of resources.
Of course, yes.
So there's people, at a strategic level in IOSH, these things are being discussed. And so that's how we've come up with these 6 pillars, which are 6 focus areas. So, at the moment, we are all talking about mental health and wellness a lot because there is an issue with that globally. But that's not to say that those other areas are being neglected. They're not. But if we can, if our members are working to those basic risk-based principles within their organizations, they should be helping those within those organizations to understand what their priorities are. And every business is different.
Yeah. I mean, you can just take, for instance, the UK and go back to this globalization aspect. I mean, over I think it was the late 1800s when we had the first, the Factory Act or the Morals Apprentices and things like that. So, I
actually remember all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember. But the UK has built up and built up and built up and built up. And you've got the 6-pack in the Health and Safety Work Act, and we've got all of the UK is still leading the way with regards to occupational health and safety. But we have our own internal problems that we have to deal with. The aspect of remote working, or what are these new workers called? This new I can't remember what it's called now, where you're working from home and you're on 0-hour contracts and all of that sort of thing. But we have to understand that there are countries out there and cultures out there and regions out there that have pretty much had zero occupational health and safety. They don't have that 100 years plus that those have in the UK. So again, I'm just going back to what Vince was talking about. I think, again, being positive but realistic. Let's sort out what you're doing within your own backyard and do what we can with those other regions to help them improve over the piece. I don't think we can do anything more.
Yeah, I genuinely believe if we can equip our members to be enablers, to be seen in business as a positive driver for success, those figures will, we will start to sort out those figures. And I couldn't agree with you more. I travel around, I've spoken to people across the world in this role and, traveled the world, and the priorities in different regions of the world are completely different, and the approach is completely different, but it's all risk-based, isn't it?
Yeah. In Saudi Arabia, you have the Saudi labour law. There is no Health and Safety at Work Act. There's a Saudi labour law which covers pretty much 80% is terms and conditions of employment. It talks about welfare and things like that, but only 20% is really related to occupational health and safety. You have the local MOI, Ministry of Labour inspectors, but we never see them. They're more concentrating on smaller businesses and things like that. Projects like the one we're on, they ignore us because pretty much we've got the risk assessments in place that we're monitoring, we're active and things like that. So they tend to leave us alone. So Saudi Arabia is one of those regions where they don't have that 100+ years experience of occupational health and safety. They're now gradually catching up on that, and it might take them another generation to even get to a stage where perhaps they're like Dubai or United Arab Emirates and things like that. So again, we have to be very careful, like I said, that we don't become some sort of go-to. We'll sort the whole world out just because we're.
Yeah, and I mean that is where the human capital pillar comes in. So a lot of that, if you think about where that finance comes from, if we can influence those investors to consider ethical values and ethical investment, if they're actually investing in those overseas countries that don't have the same regulatory framework, those big organizations can actually influence them and say, do you know what, these are our standards. If you're gonna work for us and we're gonna give you some basic standards that
and build on those.
And that's where we start changing the language of how we talk about what we do. We talk about ethics, we talk about values, we talk about being enablers, we talk about the success that can come from running a business where people feel motivated, they want to be there because they feel looked after. So it's about the language, and I think I hope that that's something that Jimmy and I are going to be able to bring forward.
I think it's also important, like Ukraine, for example, they don't have risk-based legislation, but they planning to do that, and all that has been driven. It was driven by the business.
Janet.
Oh, we've got robots. There's gremlins in the Matrix again. I'm just pretty aware of the fact that we're coming up to 55 minutes now, Louise, and I know you're on a pretty tight schedule today.
I'm okay.
Oh, you're okay. I was going to say we can start wrapping up because if you've got to be off at 4 on the dot.
Yeah, I didn't have a hard. I thought I was going to have a hard stop, but I'm not. That's
that's
fine.
Okay then. I was going to try and wrap up. I think Janet has frozen completely and has turned into a robot. Just for the minute, so hopefully she'll kick back in a second. We've had a couple of it's come up a couple of times from Graham about the Work 22 3 years in this strange world of COVID. Is it still relevant?
So Graham helped create the last strategy when he was president. So part of what we're doing is we've got a fantastic strategy that I think has seen IOSH change massively. So well done, Graham, for all the work that you did on that. And going into, and actually it will be in my year as president where we will be looking at our next strategy, and strategies by their very nature are longer term pieces. So to answer your question, is the strategy is, yes, it's being looked at, it's being examined, it's being debated, it's being discussed, and there will be something after Work 2022. So it's all gonna come, and I actually personally think it's going to be more of a transformation than a big change.
That's great,
particularly because I talk about collaboration a lot.
Well, we do very much enjoy collaboration here with people from different industries, from people from different backgrounds, as you can tell by the group we've got together today. Vince, come back again. Dead worker numbers are rising by official reporting. What do we do differently in future? I think you've covered this really.
I think it needs to come from us. It's what can we do differently? And I think some of the things that are coming out of IOSH is, do you know what? It's about getting involved, and anybody who contacts me on LinkedIn, I'll gladly accept your invite. There's a great network of professionals out there supporting each other, and we need to work together to be seen as that positive driver. I don't think it's there is no magic bullet to what we do, and I think there's lots of people who have got strong opinions on how we do these things, and I think we need to come together and discuss it and talk about it, and know that not one size fits all. You know, you can't go in and do the same thing in one business and take that to the next business. Everything is different. There is no magic bullet.
No, collaboration without ego.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the other thing that I would talk about as well is IOSH's Vision Zero. So I think we're going to be doing some promotion around that. I'm probably putting something in someone's ear now. We're going to be doing some work around that, and that's a collaboration with the ILO, and that's based on these risk-based principles, and it's not based on legislation, and it's definitely something that will translate globally. And I think that's going to be, that can be, you know, again, you've got materials, you've got support there. So, you know, do have a look at that on the website as well. There's an awful lot available. It's about getting involved, being connected, you know, logging into the branch meetings that happen, and or the groups, because the more that we can work together, you know, I disagree, we can change the world.
Oh no, I disagree with that, with Charlie on that one as well, I'm afraid. It doesn't take, you know, the biggest thing to change the world. You can change the course of a river if you put a stone in the right place.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's excellent. I'm going to remember that one.
We have.
Just remember, you can't swim in the same bit of the river twice.
No, Pocahontas sang all about that.
Yeah. The aspect of hazard and risk, I like this thought process that you're going through here, Louise, because the engineers and managers that I deal with have a very, very little understanding of hazard and risk. You can ask them, what does a hazard mean and what does risk mean? And they'll go, I don't know. What are you talking about? So you've got this sort of global march of safety differently and HOP and all of this complexity and everything else. And I'm thinking, well, that's okay if you've got an organisation perhaps in the Western Hemisphere that's got 60 or 30, 40. But then you've got these other areas that really you're pretty much back to basics. Yeah. And risk assessment is everything that we've done here. We talk about hazard and risk all the time. It's the fundamental basics of what we talk about. We're not interested in HOP and safety differently. We're back to 1 + 1 = 2. This is risk assessment. These are the hazards. How do we manage and control them effectively? And I think that has got to be, as you're saying, is the way forward, not just from the UK perspective, but for the rest of the world. If you can't do the basics right, then what's the point?
Yeah, I think we have to think globally. I mean, I literally, if I'm dealing with a business now who's got a head office in another country, you know, their MD zooming in to say hello, you know, we're in a different place to where we were before. You know, we were always using the technology in IOSH, but I've never felt more connected to our members than I do now. And that's such an opportunity that we need to grab. And those risk-based principles, they are global. You know, you don't have to be talking about legislation. And I've talked about this with, you know, owners of businesses in a way that I've never done before. And there's been so much contradiction. It feels like there's all this contradiction, that actually, if you sit and you concentrate with the right team of people, you're going to work it out. There isn't a template for everything, you know.
Well, if you want a successful workplace culture, implement your own. Don't copy somebody else's.
Absolutely.
You know, you got to start from.
Yeah, and to take it, it's interesting what you were saying about you know, all these different approaches. The day before my president-elect presentation to council, which is terrifying, by the way, I spoke to one of the other chairs and he said, you know what, Louise, we don't need corporate theories right now. We need support. So that's very much where Jimmy and I sit, is supporting our members.
Definitely. Yeah, good.
And I think bringing that closer to the business.
Yeah.
Risk-based, integrating that into the business. Can I ask a question, Louise?
Yeah.
I think it's more well. I'm sure that all your challenges, all your programs and actions, being as a president, will be in alignment with the IOSH principles. However, I'm sure that you have something on your plate that is yours, like your top 3 things you're planning to do different way, or maybe brings challenges that you would like to tackle. Don't you mind sharing with us?
Oh, so I mean, some of this, I've definitely got 2, but the third one is kind of, you know, a lot of this is that I will collaborate with IOSH. So, you know, there'll be people in IOSH that kind of guide me as well. They'll know my background and my interests and the things that I'm passionate about. But I think it's no secret that I'm very passionate about inclusion. So I strongly believe that if we can have a bit of a mix, we need a better mixture in our membership in every aspect, because do you know what? We solve problems you didn't even know existed. And the best way to do that was with a diverse range of opinion, isn't it? You know, handled in a trustworthy way. And for me, you know, include that whole piece around inclusion is massively important. So how can we improve that piece within our membership and for our members so that they feel, you know, I mean, Gemma and I were talking about I've got the magazine from this month, so it's all about this.
I've
This
forgot to pick
month,
mine up.
yeah, and saying, you know, I think, you know, just talking about gender as an example, I think we've been stuck at 20% women for a long time in IOSH, and we know that we have a real mixture in the Future Lead. I mean, Gemma, you were at Future Leaders. It was phenomenal, wasn't it? And there was,
yeah.
you know, there's a massive amount of diversity, but we kind of lose it. We've lost it along the way as we get, you know, further along. So how can we support our members that want to, you know, go from the Future Leaders, perhaps, you know, volunteer in branches and groups and learn and experience that and become future presidents? And how do we equally help them to take on the kind of roles that they want to take on within their careers as well? So there's a whole piece around that I'm very, very interested in. The other piece is human capital, which I've talked about quite a lot. I'm already working, Jimmy and I work quite a lot on, we quite like governance. So it's how do, you know, it's the bits that go behind the scenes. So we're doing a lot of work with that. And my other piece is probably still in the pipe. I mean, I don't know whether Sunita's on the line, but I always joke with Sunita that I always get something in about asbestos along the line. Because, you know, coming from very much a built property background, I remember a couple of years ago, there's a chap in IOSH who is in our comms team called Simon. We call him Simon BB, and he sat down with me and we were talking about the No Time to Lose campaign, because the last phase was all about asbestos, and I started talking to him about everything that I'd done, and I thought, that's quite a lot. You know, and I probably helped manage asbestos risk management in thousands and thousands of square foot of property, and it's still being exported around the world. There are still parts of the world where it's in use, so who knows, there might be something in there around that, but I don't hold me to that.
Thank you for inclusion and diversity. Thank you for that. I think for everyone who is not in UK, they are pleased to hear that and to be part, feel that inclusion, being part of IOSH member.
Yeah, and I think this is where we can link up and be a really strong, you know, I've talked about, you know, what can we do to help each other? And for me, this is an area where, you know, I'm a woman that's gone through their career. And what is, you know, there's far more men in our profession than there are women, and I understand those challenges, but there's also opportunities for us as well, particularly as we start thinking about the health agenda. I think there's going to be a lot more women naturally coming into the profession. So we need to look for ways to link up around the world and help and support each other. And, you know, it's not just about, but in a way that doesn't alienate anybody either.
Yeah.
So we need to, if we think about gender as a topic, we need to bring our male colleagues with us, and because everybody has something to bring to the table.
Thank you. Especially, I think I agree with Charlie on that. It's inclusion. It's also including others,
Absolutely.
not only safety professionals, doctors, HR, business operators, whoever. Thank you, Gemma.
I remember going to the HSE event at the NEC a couple of years ago, and I took the operators from from the production area. I took a couple of the operators with me, and as I was walking around and introducing them to people on the stands, like, "Oh, you mean you've brought them with you?" It's like, well, I'm not the ones that are going to use this. I don't know if it's going to be any good to them or not. So I've brought them with me so they can see it firsthand, rather than me go back and say, "I've had this idea." There you go. I mean, one of them did just spend the entire time trying to steal pens, but I think he came home with 68. He had a good
Oh my
day.
goodness.
But we did also get a couple of really good ideas that came back with us that we've implemented, you know, in the workplace.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't have had if I hadn't taken them with me, because I wouldn't have known it was a problem. So, you know, you need to include everybody, because you don't know what's the problem for somebody else unless they're there. You can't answer for them.
Yeah, exactly.
We are now running at an hour and 10 minutes, which
yeah,
Sonny
so
said
we've
was
beaten Jimmy.
We've beaten Jimmy and also Dom Cooper's time as well, I think.
Okay.
So we are now the longest running live event officially.
But yeah, so no, I mean, it's, you know, it's been great. Hooray. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, connect up with, you know, myself and Jimmy on LinkedIn. I think you're going to see much more of us going forward, and you know, hopefully we've given you kind of a flavor of the things that we're passionate about. You know, and I'm certainly, you know, in some ways Jimmy works for a very big company, corporate. I'm really, you know, the vast majority of people actually work for much smaller organizations, so you know, I'm definitely going to be banging that drum as well. So yeah, we're really excited about the coming years.
Excellent. Did anyone have anything to say just to close off? Are we all very good?
Thank you.
So we can finish off by saying thank you ever so much to Louise. Louise is our final guest.
Thanks, Louise.
Oh yeah, happy Christmas, everybody.
You're going to be our last special guest of the year.
Yeah.
We are having an end of year show on the 22nd of December, where we're catching up with everything we've done over the last year. So if you wanted to join us for that, I believe that is 3 p.m. on the 22nd.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
So we'll be having a look over what we've done. Maybe, I don't know if Sonny has the technical know-how or not. We might even have a clip show. Who knows? That's generally done by things where you've run out of ideas, isn't it? A clip show. Maybe not. Yeah, so we just have to say thank you ever so much. It has been an absolutely brilliant conversation. It is wonderful to know that you and Jimmy are so aligned, that there's joined up thinking and it going ahead. It's all going to
Yeah, we don't always agree, but we always come up. We're a diverse team too. So
that's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You can't always agree with everybody, because then there's no challenge.
Yeah, but you know, we're really excited to be, you know, working with our members, with our, you know, all of the stakeholders. That collaboration piece is massively important to the both of us. So yeah.
No, that's brilliant. Okay, right. Thank you everybody for joining us. If you wanted to hang on, we have an after show party afterwards, which is where we just run down everything. So if you wanted to hang on after we say goodbye. So thank you to everybody for joining us. Thank you to everybody for their contributions in chat. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Tanner. Thank you, Jenna, for your contribution.